No one anticipated the courtroom to be this chilly. Not in the height of summer, not in the midst of Flagstaff where the sun scorched the streets just outside. But within, under the fluorescent lights and rigid wooden benches, the air was heavy, filled with unspoken names and long-forgotten truths. Christine Brown sat tensely at the plaintiff's table, a binder laid out in front of her. Not the blue one this time, but a new white binder, its spine labeled with one word only: audit. On the far side of the room, Kody sat tense, his arms clenched tight across his chest, his jaw set, as though he was keeping something contained that would ruin everything if it got out. Robyn, sitting 2 rows behind him, was dressed in black. She always dressed in black to court, as if she was in mourning for something no one else had yet put in the ground. The judge leaned forward, surveyed the courtroom, then put down his glasses and said the words that froze time. According to documents viewed in the forensic audit, he stated matter-of-factly, the court concludes that more than $1 million of family funds were used solely for the lifestyle and properties of Mrs. Robyn Brown. There was no gasp, no scream, only silence. That tense, frightening sort of silence that only occurs when everyone already knew it, but nobody was prepared to hear it said out loud. Christine's hand did not move. Janelle looked down, her lips parting slightly. Meri turned to look at Robyn, and Robyn just blinked. Slowly, as if reality hadn't quite reached her yet. We will begin the detailed itemization shortly, the judge continued. But let me be clear, these monies were not authorized by all spouses, and this court will now establish how such a discrepancy was allowed under a joint family accord. Kody didn't bat an eye, but he didn't blink either. It was Christine who finally sat forward, clicking open the first tab in her binder. A pale yellow separator marked 2015. The renovation. Her voice, when she began to speak, was firm. Let's begin with the year he told us we couldn't afford Christmas. Christine's voice didn't shake, not because she wasn't keeping in check anger, but because she'd kept it in so long that it'd become something worse, clarity. In December of 2015, she started, opening the binder to a printed bank statement and a side screenshot of a contractor invoice. We were informed by Kody that the family budget was at an all-time low, that we had to cut back. That even gifts for the children would have to wait until tax returns. Her eyes remained forward, but her voice gave away the pain. Reneged on the Salt Lake trip. I recall cutting coupons in common with Janelle so we could stretch $1 into 10. 3 weeks later, however, this payment was made on the family's main account, $43,875.16 to RMC Renovation Services. The judge pushed his glasses up his nose, then looked at the document, reading through the receipts attached. Christine's voice was harder now. The house belonged to Robyn, the fix-up work was hers. No one else signed off on the payment, and when I confronted Kody about it, he told me, and I repeat verbatim, "It is just temporary, we'll all gain from the equity." Janelle took a breath in through her nose. Robyn shifted uncomfortably in her seat, whispering something to her lawyer, but no reply was forthcoming. Kody rocked back slowly, face impassive. The judge wrapped the corner of the binder. Are these documents attested by a certified accountant? Yes, Your Honor, Christine asserted. Each of them cross-matched with family bank access records and sworn before being filed. And how many of these transactions are there? The judge inquired. Now somewhat agitated, Christine did not blink. At least 19 between 2015 and 2022, amounting to more than $1 million, all related to Robyn's home or lifestyle costs. None of them read or spoke with the rest of us. Meri emitted a little audible noise, not a gasp, almost a choke, as if a memory had finally shifted into place. The courtroom remained quiet. The type of quiet that only occurs when truth will walk through with proof behind it. The judge turned to the next page. Let's get on with it, he said. What occurred in 2016? Christine flipped the tab marked 2016, and for a moment, her hand hovered on the page as if it contained something weightier than paper. Perhaps it did. This year, the narrative was different, she spoke quietly. But the outcome was the same. She raised her gaze, her eyes firm, surveying the courtroom until they halted for an instant upon Kody, then glanced past him. In May of 2016, we were summoned for a family meeting. Kody told us that because of contractual renegotiation with TLC, the show's payoff would be withheld, that we needed to budget for a skinny summer, that we must be smart. Christine looked down, flipping the page, but the money was never withheld. The payment cleared 3 days before that meeting. She displayed a document, a copy of a wire transfer receipt for $180,000 paid to the family's common LLC by TLC, and another page, $72,000 withdrawn from that account, funneled through an account in the name KRB Legacy Holdings. Christine paused to allow the words to sink in. Only under the name of Robyn Brown, Your Honor. The judge's eyebrow went up. Do you have proof of that? It is on there, Christine said, pushing a page across the table. This is the 2016 registration of the account. And this, she said, pulling out another paper, is a signed lease contract for a brief luxury rental in Sedona. 6 weeks, paid in full $29,000. From said account. Robyn's face jerked. Her lawyer whispered something now, but she didn't respond. Janelle's expression remained unreadable, though her hand slowly tightened around the folder in her lap. Meri looked away, blinking hard. The judge examined the pages carefully. You're suggesting this was hidden. Not suggesting, Christine replied, her voice now razor-sharp. I'm stating it was never disclosed to any of us. Not tax prep time, not family budget meetings, not on our monthly calls about finances. The account didn't exist, we were told. Kody leaned forward at last, his voice low but clear. That account was transitional planning. You don't know what that is. The judge turned to him. Then explain it to me, Mr. Brown. Why was the rest of your family left in the dark? The courtroom held its breath. Kody remained silent. Christine didn't even glance at him. She just flipped to the next tab. 2017, she muttered. When the card went out of commission, Christine didn't blink as she opened the 2017 tab, but the intensity of the silence within the courtroom was so heavy, it seemed like she was turning the page on a book she never consented to writing. That year, she started, something little occurred. But little things tend to do the most harm. She pushed a neat printout across the desk, an email exchange, plain but incriminating. This is an internal notice I got from our shared family banking system. The 3rd of February 2017. My debit card being refused when attempting to buy groceries. $112.68. Refused. She held up the paper. I figured then it was a malfunction. But when I went to verify the family account balance, it was 0. She stopped and turned the page. 3 days prior to that, $50,000 was wired out of the same account into a private escrow account for a property under Robyn's name. That wire was initiated by Kody. Kody's face at last showed a break. His lips twisted as he leaned forward, muttering something quickly and clipped to his attorney. Christine tuned him out. I called him that evening, she said, her tone softer now. I asked why the card wasn't functioning. He said we had to sacrifice, that things were tight. Her eyes met the judge's. Tight, Your Honor. While a private land transaction was in progress, one I wasn't aware was happening. Robyn shifted now, crossing her arms more tightly. She had her mouth open, but her attorney softly touched her arm. Not yet, Janelle, sitting across the room, dropped her gaze to her lap, where her hands were shaking. Meri simply glared at Christine as if she had witnessed a specter. Because perhaps, in a sense, she had. The judge raised the escrow document, and this property was never revealed. Never, Christine said. Not to me. Not to the accountant, and not on the combined annual report. This property was bought outright 2 months afterwards, then collateralized on another loan, again in Robyn's name. Kody's tone cut through abruptly, furious, discordant. I did what I had to do to provide for our future. The judge raised his head slowly. Whose future? Kody flinched, caught off guard. Christine turned another page. 2018, she said matter-of-factly. The year the trust was divided in secret. Christine pushed her finger under the 2018 tab, and for an instant, the room suspended its breathing. This wasn't merely another year. This wasn't merely another deal. This was the year Christine insisted that everything shifted, legally, emotionally, architecturally. In 2018, she started. Our family trust was reorganized secretly, strategically, and entirely without the knowledge or permission of anyone else except Kody and Robyn. She set a pile of papers on the evidence table. Amendments to trusts, notarized and dated, explaining how the original Brown family trust, which was to have all wives and biological children equally included, had been altered into two separate entities. One stayed with the original name, Christine explained, indicating the first page, and the second, a shadow trust, was set up in the name Browning Legacy Holdings. She hesitated, then struck. Robyn was appointed the sole managing trustee. The judge shifted his chair, then stared straight at Kody. "Did you establish this secondary trust, Mr. Brown?" Kody remained silent. Christine didn't hesitate. "This shadow trust was employed to purchase two properties that were originally earmarked for family purposes, but neither were reported on tax returns, marital statements, or the shared real estate plan filed with the network." Robyn's face grew a deep red. Her lips parted, but her attorney intervened hastily. "Your Honor, we ask for a quick recess to affirm." "Denied," the judge replied more curtly than ever. "We continue." Christine turned the next page. "This letter," she stated, her tone even but icy, "is a signed letter of intent from a bank in St. George, Utah, acknowledging a $120,000 down payment transmitted through the Browning Legacy Trust on a vacation home. Here is the wire transfer record. The money originated in the family's main TLC account." She paused. "The account used to pay for our medical care, our children's school supplies, groceries." Janelle leaned forward, her face blank but her eyes boiling. Undefended Meri's hand gripped the bench. "Undefended," the judge finally looked at Robyn. "Undefined, were you aware that this trust was created in your name?" "Undefined," Robyn's voice was barely a whisper. "Undefined. I didn't understand what it was." Christine finally turned toward her, speaking directly for the first time. "Undefined, you understood enough to sign the papers, Robyn." Then she flipped the next tab, "Undefined 2019. She said, "The year the money disappeared before it even came to us." Christine did not wait for anyone to get better. She toggled to the 2019 tab as if it were muscle memory. Not an act of war, but make no mistake. What she was about to show was not merely a ledger of numbers. It was a map to betrayal. "In 2019, she started, voice low but now sharper, "we made the biggest TLC payment in our family's filming history, $570,000. It was going to be divided in half, $114,000 per family. That was the handshake. That was the trust. That was the word." She displayed her bank receipt. "My deposit, $76,000. She let the number hover in the courtroom air like a punch. When I questioned Kody as to why, he told me that the network changed the contracts, that our shares were now predicated on screen time, that Robyn was featured more prominently." The judge arched an eyebrow. "And did the network verify that agreement?" Christine said nothing. She merely produced a letter, printed, highlighted, and stamped by the TLC legal department. "All 5 payments were paid in equal installments," she explained. "On the same day, out of the same wire batch." She indicated the bottom of the page. "But 2 of the accounts they were sent to didn't correlate with our joint account numbers." Her voice grew cold. "They were transferred directly into Robyn's private accounts." The gallery gasped. Not the type of gasp for effect, but the kind that happens when a truth you dreaded becomes reality. Robyn seemed frozen. Her lips did not move. Her hands gripped the table as if the weight of her ring was suddenly too heavy to bear. Kody's knee started bouncing, at first subtly, then wildly. The judge read the document slowly. "Can you confirm the source of this letter?" "It was mailed through my attorney, stamped and notaried," Christine said. "The court has a sealed version, and the forensic accountant already validated the banking information." The judge flipped over the page. "Those are quite serious accusations." "They're not accusations," Christine snapped, her eyes narrowing. "They're ledgers." Janelle broke her silence, her voice shaking. "I noticed the discrepancy. I couldn't bear it." Christine nodded without facing her. "That is how he silenced us, by making silence seem safer than confrontation." The judge set the letter aside with finality. "Let's confront it then. We'll go to 2020 after that." Christine closed the tab. "You'll want to listen carefully," she whispered. went on and bought her real house, and we got nothing. Christine removed a photo from the binder and set it down on the evidence table delicately. It depicted a large 2-story mansion with ornate iron gates, floor-length drapes shining in golden light, and a luxury vehicle parked out front. This was Robyn's house in 2020, she declared. It was $890,000, paid off in 9 months. She informed us it was a family private loan. Christine's hands shook as she reversed the photo. The wire transfers indicate otherwise. The judge leaned forward. From where? Our joint LLC, Christine answered. Brown Family Entertainment, listed as a joint entity since 2012, meant to pay for shared expenses such as property tax and crew logistics, not for personal houses. Not gated castles. She clicked on a page displaying 5 wire transfers. Every transfer was made the day following a TLC payment. 1. $120 K. 2. $150 K. 3. $200 K. 4. $210 K. 5. $110 K. Total, $790,000, paid straight out to Robyn's real estate lawyer. The last $100 K was from our family emergency fund. No vote, no warning, just poof. The courtroom fell silent but for the angry scratching of Kody's pen. He glared up, his voice cracked with hysteria. We decided on that house. You said you needed her stable for the kids. Christine spun on him. We wanted a home for all our children, Kody. Not Robyn's only. You informed me there was no emergency fund when Truly had the seizure in 2021. I took from my parents because you told me there wasn't anything left. The judge rapped the gavel once, hard enough to break the quivering in the courtroom air. Mr. Brown, she said firmly, were these transfers approved by the other members of the LLC? I don't remember. Well, let me remind you, Christine snapped, because I have affidavits from Janelle, from Meri, from me. None of us ever signed away. She waved the contract. But you did. You and Robyn, both your names, every line, in pen. Robyn spoke up at last, her tone strained and defensive. I thought it was out of his account. I did not know it came from the family fund. Christine's response was frost. You lived in that house. You spent that money. You did not ask where the money came from because you did not want to know. She addressed the judge. We pleaded with him not to touch the emergency fund. We pleaded with him to be honest, and when he would not, he blamed the network. He blamed taxes. He blamed us. The judge folded her hands slowly. And did he ever refund the LLC? Christine lifted a red-stamped page. Not a single dollar. And just when everyone thought the damage had peaked, Christine opened a final envelope, one with Robyn's name written in bold court, labeled red ink. What was inside would silence even the judge. Your Honor, Christine said, breathing hard. May I present one final piece from 2020? The judge nodded cautiously. Christine reached into her binder and pulled out a single envelope, sealed, official, court, marked. This was mailed to me anonymously 3 weeks ago, she whispered. It was too late to stop the damage. But it's not too late for justice. The judge raised an eyebrow. What is it? Christine carefully slid the contents into the light. A notarized property deed in bold. Transfer of ownership, Coyote Pass parcel number 3. From Brown Family LLC to Robyn Sullivan Brown. The courtroom collectively inhaled. Christine didn't need to say a word. The paper spoke for itself. The courtroom felt like it had sunk a few inches lower under the weight of the revelation. No one moved. The sound of the ceiling fan overhead was now deafening, all eyes locked on the deed in Christine's hand. Official court stamped and fatal to everything Kody had spent years defending. Robyn didn't move. Her lips were parted slightly, her eyes darting from Christine to the judge, to Kody, back to the paper. Kody, on the other hand, surged from his chair like he'd been lit on fire. That is a lie. That's not real. That's not possible. But the judge didn't flinch. She motioned to the bailiff, who took the document from Christine and brought it to her bench. She studied it for a full minute, then calmly reached for her glasses. This deed, she said coolly, is legitimate. Stamped by the county assessor's office. Dated May 13th, 2020. Her voice was sharp now, transferred directly from Brown Family LLC to to Robyn Brown. Without a vote, without signatures from Janelle Meri or Christine, and most importantly, without legal transparency. Christine stepped forward, binder now closed. Your Honor, we were told in 2019 that Coyote Pass would be split into 4 equal lots. Each wife would build her dream home. We agreed, we even sat down with the developers. And then, without telling anyone, Kody moved to reallocate one entire parcel to Robyn. She paused, her voice cracking. That was the same year he told me I wasn't a real partner anymore, that the family structure had changed. Janelle stood up in the gallery unprompted. He told me the same thing, said I didn't want to follow his rules so I didn't deserve the land. Meri nodded slowly, solemnly. I signed nothing. I knew nothing. I only found out this year. Kody was beet red. He turned to Robyn. You didn't tell me you filed it, I told you to wait, Robyn, clearly panicking, whispered. You said it would protect us, that they didn't need it like we did. The courtroom gasped audibly. That single sentence, they didn't need it like we did, landed like a grenade. The judge adjusted her robe and looked over her glasses. Mrs. Brown, are you stating under oath that you and Mr. Brown discussed transferring property away from joint ownership for personal protection? Robyn was frozen. Her eyes glossed over, lip trembling. The judge turned to the court recorder. Please read back that last statement. As the words replayed through the quiet courtroom, Kody finally dropped back into his chair, visibly shaking. He muttered, We were trying to survive. You don't understand what it's like, what they put us through. The judge stared at him down. What they put you through, or what you did to them. But just when the courtroom believed the full betrayal had been exposed, Christine revealed the one thing Robyn never thought would come to light. A secret bank account only accessible through Coyote Pass equity. Christine took a deep breath and opened a final folder, different from the binder. This was a financial audit subpoena, she explained. Robyn is the name on an equity-backed loan drawn against Coyote Pass. Parcel number 3, the very one she sold to herself. The loan was for $300,000. The judge's jaw dropped. For what? Christine's delivery was matter of fact. To buy jewelry inventory for a failed boutique paid to an LLC in Robyn's maiden name. A company we had been informed never progressed beyond the launch phase. Kody appeared as if he'd been punched in the chest. You said you closed down that account. He accused Robyn. Robyn's hands remained over her mouth. She said nothing. She couldn't. The court was shocked. This wasn't merely favoritism. This wasn't merely selfishness. This was fraud, intentional financial juggling behind the family's back, signed off with silence and deceit. The silence after Christine's disclosure was chilling. The judge, clearly shaken, asked the court clerk to produce the official documents associated with the $300,000 loan. As the documents were sent to the bench, you could see Robyn shaking. Her hands spasm, her eyes glazed, shoulders hunched up as if trying to disappear under the responsibility of the truth. Christine did not smile. Christine did not gloat. Her expression bore the weight of deceit and the power of vindication. We are barely covering utilities in 2020, she spoke softly. Janelle and I were budgeting kid groceries down to the penny. Robyn, on the other hand, was earning 6 figures from land that we all thought we still owned. The judge arched an eyebrow. And Mr. Brown, did you know about this business loan? Kody's head lowered. For a moment, he seemed as if he were going to deny it, but rather, he glared at the judge and stated blandly, She said it was a personal loan. I didn't question her. The courtroom burst into murmurs. Personal loan. On a parcel that was conveyed without revealing, the judge raised the document and addressed the bailiff. Put this as Exhibit G, fraudulent use of Coyote Pass as collateral. She paused, then looked straight at Robyn. Surely, Mrs. Brown, you are aware that equity in communal property, illegally conveyed or otherwise, is not yours to use without knowledge and approval of co-owners. You could be facing felony charges based on how this turns out. Robyn had spoken at last, her throat rough. I did it for our future. The family was breaking apart. I figured if I started the jewelry business, I could do something. I didn't want to hurt them. Her statement came crashing down. Janelle stood up from her chair, cradling a spreadsheet. You didn't hurt us, Robyn. You ruined us. She presented the paper to the judge. That is all of our financial hardship notices we received after that loan was issued. Credit dings, overdue tax payments. Unable to pay utility bills. And Kody, she choked. He told us that we had to tighten our belts so Robyn could get the business launched. He knew. Undefined, he just didn't care. Kody quickly stood, eyes blazing. Undefined, I didn't know the land was stolen. Undefined, he didn't sign anything. Undefined, he thought we were on the same team. Undefined, the judge raised her hand. Reorganization of any. This isn't a playground, Mr. Brown. Undefined, it is a court of law. And what's becoming clear is that your household finances were less a team and more a shell game, hiding funds, shifting assets, isolating co-owners from key decisions. But just when it looked like Robyn's boutique fraud would be the biggest bombshell of the day, Janelle dropped a voice memo that sent the courtroom into total chaos. Janelle pulled out her phone, clearly pre-approved by the court for digital evidence. Your Honor, I was smart enough to start recording some of our financial planning meetings once things got shady. She hit play. Kody's voice came through the speakers, clear, calculated, and cold. Don't tell Christine or Meri about the LLC. If they're not in the loop, they can't block it. This has to be in Robyn's name. It's the only way to protect the land from Christine if she bails. Gasps. Audible gasps. Even the court stenographer dropped her pen. The judge looked stunned. Mr. Brown, is this your voice? Kody's silence spoke louder than any confirmation. Robyn tried to speak but broke into quiet sobs. The judge ordered a recess to process the new evidence. What had started as a simple financial dispute over $1 million lifestyle had now escalated into potential premeditated fraud, property theft, and conspiracy to mislead the court. And for the first time in the proceedings, Kody looked truly afraid, not just of legal consequences, but of the reality that every lie he spun was unraveling on public record. Minute by minute, the court reconvened after recess with a renewed intensity, like the air itself had thickened from the tension. But this time, Robyn wasn't crying. She walked in with her lawyer whispering quickly at her side and sat down with a folded document in her lap. The judge, stone-faced, addressed the room. We will now review the business license and financial records of My Sister's Closet, the business venture funded by the alleged misuse of communal assets. Christine's lawyer handed over the discovery packet, hundreds of pages of accounting records, e-commerce sales logs, email exchanges, and most shockingly, a ledger filled with entries labeled ghost clients. Christine stood up to narrate these entries. Over $180,000 in supposed sales. Have no customer contact info, no addresses, no receipts. We traced the PayPal IDs. They all lead back to dummy accounts, many from a single IP address. She turned slowly, eyes locking on Robyn. Her home address. The room went silent. Kody's mouth hung open in disbelief. You mean the sales, they weren't real? Janelle scoffed. No, Kody. They were laundering our money through fake customers to make it look like the boutique was a success. But it wasn't. And every time she made a sale, she funneled cash into a private account we never knew existed. The judge flipped through the documents. This is a pattern of deception. And it's not just mismanagement, it's organized fraud. She paused. Mrs. Brown, did you create these customer records? Robyn opened her mouth, but her lawyer quickly stood up. No comment, Your Honor. My client invokes her Fifth Amendment right at this time. A collective gasp. The courtroom, filled with observers, reporters, and family friends, stirred like a shaken beehive. Christine's face hardened. You won't even try to explain it. But before the judge could respond, Christine pulled out one final receipt, signed by Kody himself. And what it revealed changed the entire tone of the trial. Christine stepped forward and handed over a printed transaction from a private bank. This withdrawal, for $27,450, was from a trust account, one we believed had been frozen. But it was quietly reactivated 6 months ago by someone with joint authority. She turned to Kody. That was you. You signed off on it, Kody. For what? He looked down, silent. But the judge pressed. Mr. Brown, where did that money go? Kody's shoulders sank. I needed it to pay the mortgage on Robyn's second house. It was going into foreclosure. Christine blinked. Second house, the room exploded. Janelle stood up. We were behind on property taxes on Coyote Pass. You told us there was no money. The judge slammed her gavel once. Silence. But the courtroom had already been shattered. Kody had just admitted, in public record, to using communal family trust funds to secretly rescue Robyn's hidden property while the other wives struggled. The judge called for security to restore order. In the chaos, Robyn whispered something inaudible to her attorney and passed him a manila folder. He rose, walked forward, and placed it on the judge's bench. Your Honor, this folder contains contracts between Mr. Brown and a production house that continued filming Robyn and Kody after the other wives were cut from the show. They were compensated directly outside of the TLC deal. Christine froze. They were still filming? The judge pulled out the contracts. Well, this explains a lot. $100,000 a month in production stipends, under a fake shell company owned by Robyn. And then she looked up, her tone suddenly colder. This entire trial is no longer about financial negligence. It's about orchestrated betrayal for fame, for money, and above all, for control. And with that, the courtroom fell deathly quiet, because even those who came to witness a bitter custody and property battle were now watching a real-time collapse of a manufactured reality show empire, founded on secrecy and sealed with lies. When court reconvened the next day, tension was unlike anything previously witnessed. Christine and Janelle sat in a row, quiet but serene. Kody appeared drained, his characteristic bravado gone and replaced by a haunted look that gazed at nothing. But everyone's attention was on Robyn, whose face revealed nothing. She no longer gripped tissues, no longer leaned on Kody for emotional support. She sat rigid and unmoving, hands folded, almost resigned. The judge entered with the manila evidence folder Christine had wrestled into the light, and she didn't hesitate. Upon careful review of these documents and the testimony submitted, I conclude that more than $1 million of commingled family funds were improperly used to support Mrs. Robyn Brown's personal lifestyle. Several property investments, personal legal expenses, boutique business, and unauthorized production deals. The room came to an abrupt standstill. Kody's head flew up. That can't be that number. The judge held up a hand. Let me get on with it, Mr. Brown. I am also personally holding you responsible for facilitating those transfers. You signed off on access to funds, you approved secret accounts, and you kept misreporting the financial health of the family to the other wives. This is not negligence. This is manipulation, written down, intentional, and destructive. Christine drew a shaky breath. Janelle leaned across and gripped her hand. Robyn remained motionless, stone cold silent, but one tear fell down her cheek. The courtroom gasped when the judge unveiled a third account, one no one, not even Robyn, appeared to know. Until she opened it and gasped herself. The judge faced the screens into the courtroom. This third account belongs to Aurora Grace Holdings, made in 2021. It has been more than $350,000 in incremental deposits with the tag Family Trust Remainder. Kody's jaw dropped. That is, I don't know what that is. The judge answered, icy, coldly. That is odd, because Robyn is the beneficiary, and the co-signer is Aurora Brown. She would have been 19 when this account was opened. Robyn came to life at last. No, that is not right. That was forged. But the judge shook her head. We spoke with the bank. The signature is identical to both of your handwriting. Aurora had the right to co-sign, but this account was obviously used to divert money that belonged to the entire Brown family. A shocked gasp ran through the gallery. Christine's face went white. So Robyn used her daughter to facilitate family theft? Kody slammed his fist on the table. You said this was for college. You assured me this was a tuition account. The judge addressed him. You knew this was available. Kody stiffened once more. I mean I signed some papers, but I didn't know. The judge again addressed Christine. In all, this court concludes that $1,081,432.17 in community funds were taken without permission or transparency. I hereby order that restitution shall be made, both legally and publicly. The Sister Wives Family Trust is no longer subject to the control of Mr. Kody Brown or Mrs. Robyn Brown. An independent fiduciary will now handle all assets remaining. An awful whisper, We lost everything. The judge wasn't finished. You didn't lose just money. You lost trust, integrity, and family. And then she addressed Christine and Janelle. You may proceed with civil claims if desired. This courtroom won't stop you. As the courtroom emptied, Kody slumped in his chair, unable to move. Robyn, visibly trembling, whispered, "It was never supposed to get this far." Christine, passing her, didn't even look. She just said under her breath, "You ensured it did." Outside the courtroom, the air was heavy with tension, but what went on inside the chambers next was something even the cameras could not register. A moment of unscripted, raw collapse. As Judge Marlowe was about to adjourn for the day, Robyn Brown suddenly stood. She didn't request permission. She didn't confer with her lawyer. She merely stood up, shaking, her voice trembling with rage, fatigue, and what some would later term bitter clarity. "I have something to say," she began. Kody sat up abruptly. Christine slowly turned around, and Janelle halted in mid-step. The judge raised an eyebrow in surprise and gave a reluctant nod. "Speak slowly, Mrs. Brown." Robyn's lip trembled. "I didn't mean it. Not like this. I didn't mean to ruin everything. But the funds just kept vanishing, and I was instructed not to question it. I figured if I created something that could sustain my children, perhaps we would not have to rely on TLC indefinitely." She looked at Kody, whose eyes grew wide with incredulity. "Wait, are you telling me this was your idea?" he questioned, aghast. Robyn shook her head. It was your idea. You told us we had to keep the money from the other wives. You told us Christine would blow it on the kids and Janelle would spend it on her sons. You said we were the only ones who understood the long game. When the courtroom heard Robyn, quote, Kody's very words from a 2022 private conversation, words that had never been seen on television, Christine gasped. "You recorded him." "Yes," Robyn went on quietly. "I taped him. I was afraid. I knew it would catch up to me someday, so I made sure I had evidence." She withdrew a USB drive from her jacket pocket and extended it to the court clerk. "Play the file called Coyote Confidential." The clerk plugged in the drive, and Kody sprang to interfere. "Wait, that is inadmissible. That is personal." But the judge silenced him with a single glare. The recording began to play. Kody's voice crackled through the speakers. Unmistakable, unmistakably smug. "We'll use the land sale to funnel extra into the boutique. Robyn's name only." Slumped over the defense table, papers scattered about him like autumn leaves. But all eyes turned when the clerk announced the next witness. Meri Brown. The courtroom fell into a whispered stillness. For more than 10 years, Meri had been the faithful wife, the one who remained, who endured, who assumed the dream was still real, even as it rotated around her. But now, walking to the stand, something was different. She walked taller, stronger. There was no shaking in her step, only quiet anger simmering just behind her calm voice. "I stayed when others went away," she started. "I hung in when Robyn went to live in a mansion, and the rest of us lived in campers. I stood up for Kody when people said he was selfish. I rationalized his neglect, lied to myself that it was stress. But I know better now. It wasn't stress. It was greed. It was manipulation." Robyn winced at the word. "Your Honor," Meri went on, "we were assured everything would be equal. Coyote Pass was to be our destiny. But bank statements don't lie. While we were sacrificing selling jewelry online, taking sponsored posts just to keep our heads above water, Robyn was constructing a kingdom using bricks stolen from us." "You made me the bad guy for years," she said, glancing at Kody. "You embarrassed me on national television. You told me I was emotionally draining, that I didn't contribute, but I gave it my all. And when I asked where the money was being spent, you told me, 'Don't worry about it.'" Her voice broke. "I should have worried, because while I was in exile, you were constructing Robyn a throne." The judge allowed her to go on, nodding gravely. And then Meri produced a sealed envelope, handed it to the court clerk, and said, "This is the prenup Robyn signed. Kody had informed us it didn't exist. Let the court determine." The courtroom fell silent. Kody's head jolted upwards. "That is not genuine," he growled. But the judge had already motioned a legal expert who had started analyzing the envelope. Robyn's hands shook as she sat and observed the court open the document. Exhibit 47C, declared the clerk. Prenup signed in April 2010, Clause 9. Any property or profit earned through the Sister Wives brand, Coyote Pass property or family media shall be split equally among all wives at time of split. Robyn's voice cracked. He explained to me that clause didn't count for anything. He said I was the legal wife, the only one who counted. Christine gasped. So he used all of us, legally and financially. The judge addressed Kody. Did you intentionally mislead your wives regarding the terms of this prenuptial agreement? Kody stuttered. They never requested to view it. I was trying to safeguard our assets. But the judge shook her head. You weren't guarding anything but your empire constructed on dishonesty. Teardrops fell from Meri's eyes, not tears of sadness, but of release. I thought I was the one who destroyed this family, but the reality is, I was just the first casualty. She descended, and the courtroom offered a whispered, unspoken acknowledgement, silent nods, clenched hands over hearts, stifled gasps. This was not merely legal testimony. It was the heart of a woman reclaiming her truth after years of silence. As Robyn sat down, Meri cried quietly into her palms, and Kody stared blankly ahead, as if finally getting the weight of the devastation he caused. Not just in court, but in hearts that had loved him. The courtroom was quiet. Not quietly, but tense. A suffocating quiet that presses before a storm breaks. Following weeks of brutal testimony, receipts, betrayal, and violated vows, the judge was poised to render her ultimate decision. Kody sat still, teeth gritted, eyes empty. Robyn was shaking visibly, mascara, lined tears drying on her face. Christine, Janelle, and Meri sat together now, no longer separated by years of competition, but bound together in hurt reality. The bailiff demanded order, and the judge started talking. I have gone through hours of testimony, bank transfers, disclosures of assets, and checked all the prenuptial and family agreements presented into evidence. Her tone was strict, unshakable. It is the opinion of this court that Mr. Kody Brown has intentionally abused family finances, withheld essential financial information from more than one wife, and diverted more than $1 million from communal marital funds to support an extravagant lifestyle for one wife, Mrs. Robyn Brown. Robyn gasped. Kody grumbled. That is not fair. But the judge went on. You said this was an equal family, that all the decisions were made equally. And yet, receipts contradict. You leveraged the Sister Wives brand, established on the backs of 4 women, and invested the profits into a personal fiefdom. Whereas Christine financed Jezebel's surgery, Janelle sold personal items to survive, and Meri existed solo in a leased cabin. Robyn supplied a mansion, bought luxury products, and accumulated more than $400,000 in real property assets unreported. The courtroom erupted as the judge declared, effective immediately, all remaining Coyote Pass properties are frozen, and Robyn Brown must repay $862,000 in marital equity, or face asset seizure. Robyn cried out. Where am I supposed to go? This was our forever home. Christine breathed just loud enough for the mic to hear. No, Robyn, it was your forever lie. The judge banged her gavel. In addition, Mr. Brown's position as trustee of the family property is revoked. Christine, Janelle, and Meri will have joint control of all Coyote Pass assets. Robyn must vacate the house within 60 days if payment is not made in full. The family empire, once the poster child for outside, the box love and plural strength, was in tatters. The courtroom slowly drained. Kody would not look at any of his previous wives. He just sat there, eyes fixed on the ground, the crush of his fallen legacy now more oppressive than any gavel. Robyn exited the courtroom in tears, holding one envelope, the court's written judgment to repay. It was the cost of her palace. A mansion constructed not on love, but on silence, manipulation, and secrecy. Aside, Christine, Janelle, and Meri exited to a wall of cameras, unended, but for the first time in years, they weren't concealing. Unended, Christine walked forward. Unended, this isn't about vengeance. Unended, this is about truth. Unended, about all the women who were commanded to be quiet. We lingered too long. Undefined, but today, we depart with our heads held high. Janelle supplemented. We didn't prevail because we battled Kody. Undefined Way prevailed because we stood together, and Meri, unbroken as ever, gave the final word. We are no longer sister wives. Undefined we are survivors. Undefined and we're free. The screen goes black. One line comes onto the screen in white. Still, it wasn't the court that toppled Kody's kingdom. It was the truth.